Pretty fun, sort of culty vegetable, hyper seasonal. If I can call it a culty vegetable, I don't really know what that means. But we're here to make some white asparagus. White asparagus are pretty interesting. They are the same variety as regular asparagus, but they are kept white by mounding them as they're sort of coming out from the ground. And what makes them maintain their white color is that the sun isn't exposed to them because they're surrounded by dirt. The farmers sort of mound up the surrounding dirt, and as a result, it keeps it this white color because no chlorophyll is able to develop. They're extremely expensive. One of my chef friends who owns a restaurant, she was recently at sort of a high-end produce store in New York City, and the prices were just too high. So she ordered a few cases from a local food distributor and decided to share them. So really excited to get into it, and we're gonna combine them with a super easy blender or immersion blender hollandaise sauce. The first thing about asparagus that I think is a big misconception is that oftentimes you see people bending them, and where the woody texture, woody core stops, the tender asparagus remains. And while that is definitely technically true, there's some other ways that we can maintain more of the vegetable and achieve that same result. So the first thing I like to do is take a look. You can see here that the back side of this looks a little bit dry, but that's nothing we can't scrape away or cut away a bit. So the first thing I'll do is feel the texture of the stalk and see if there's any super woody areas, and we'll definitely want to get rid of those. The next step is what I like to do is find that tough woody stalk, and where it ends and the tender asparagus begins, I like to make sort of a circular cut around, sort of like you're opening the capsule of a wine bottle, and that'll just keep things nice and clean and tidy as we then take our peeler. This is just a standard Y peeler, and we'll go down to the base of the asparagus and just keep peeling away until we feel that there's not a lot of woody core left. And you can see there's sort of a different opaque color in the asparagus once you get past that woody core. So we'll just keep going down, and that line keeps everything nice and neat and makes it look fancy. That's what some kind of high-end restaurants do. Obviously not required at home, but definitely a good little trick to use as well. The next thing that's obviously important is we'll also cut down the tip, and the tip is the part that is separated from the ground. And it also gives us another indicator of if there's any woody part left. And you might not have been able to hear that, but I'll try to show you next to the mic. You can hear sort of a crunch, which we don't want to get rid of all of, but that just shows us that there's a bit more of that sort of fibrous woody layer to process through before we have just the delicious asparagus left. And what this does is it keeps most of the asparagus available for us to eat, but makes it more delicious. So I'll go ahead and prepare the rest of these and be back with you for the hollandaise in just a minute. All right, the next part of our process is going to be quickly blanching the asparagus. Blanching traditionally means submerging them sort of in boiling water, typically heavily salted, and then stopping the cooking process. And we stop the cooking process as quickly as possible, generally to maintain color and also to maintain crispiness. Color, less important for a white vegetable, obviously. These are pretty thick. They're maybe about an inch thick, the largest ones. I think they'll probably boil for about 4 minutes, maybe a touch less. But we'll take sort of a sharp knife and poke it into the asparagus as it's cooking. And when we start to feel the right level of resistance, we'll obviously take it out and stop the cooking process. That's very sort of arbitrary, I recognize. It's difficult to describe the texture in which we'll know that it's ready. I think if you're just starting out or really concerned, especially because this is an expensive vegetable, maybe take one out, cut a small piece off and try it. And you'll get the feel of what that resistance I'm describing feels like as you continue to cook more. It's sort of like when you put a cake tester into a cake and you pull it out, and if there's cake on the outside, maybe it needs a few more minutes. Similar sort of idea with the asparagus in order to figure out if it's done. We can also go by feel, by look, using all of our senses to get a better picture of what's going on. I'm gonna go ahead and add some salt to the water. This is really important for a lot of reasons, but mostly to keep everything seasoned. Because the asparagus is just cooking in water, if we make the water flavorful, it's going to obviously get to the center of the vegetable as it's cooking and begin to flavor it throughout. There's sort of a misnomer that, you know, when you're cooking pasta, you want the water to be as salty as the ocean. You definitely don't want to do that. That could be, I forget the percentage, but I think it's like 5 or 6% salinity by weight. If we're doing that, your food is going to be terribly over-seasoned. I wouldn't worry about this too much, but throw some, you know, a few tablespoons of salt into your boiling water when you're making pasta, when you're making vegetables. You know, maybe per every 2 cups or 3 cups, use your judgment, and it'll make a world of difference for sure. So we're gonna go ahead and add our asparagus, and we'll take them out in just a few minutes. We really don't wanna overcook them, but at the same point, cooking them through is critical because it's a really simple dish. It's basically just, you know, asparagus. All right, it's looking like our asparagus are pretty cooked through. I'll take one out and see if I can show you. It's still obviously very steamy, but as we insert the knife, it goes in pretty easily, but there's still a touch of resistance left in the center. And that's important because we don't want to overcook the vegetable. It's a little bit weird. I mean, you're sticking a sharp knife back into the vegetable. Of course it's going to go through, so again, it's a little bit difficult to get used to that feel, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes significantly easier. You can also feel with the tongs the outside of the vegetable sort of getting a little bit softer, and again, we don't want it to get it too soft at the same time. So I'll go ahead and take them out, get them cooled down, and then we'll make our hollandaise sauce and put the dish together. So obviously we have only just a few asparagus, so we're going to do a really small version of hollandaise. The first step is in making hollandaise, which is an emulsion, is we need something to hold the emulsion. And in this case, that's gonna be egg yolks. Egg yolks are very impressive. They can hold on to a lot of fat before they separate. Of course, temperature, acidity are gonna impact some of these factors as well. But for this recipe, we're gonna use 1 egg yolk, about 100 grams of melted butter. We're going to use a teeny bit of water just to smooth things out, a little bit of lemon juice, and some salt to taste. Sometimes you can add mustard, not really necessary here, but also acts as the emulsifying agent. Maybe we'll add a touch of it just because the flavor, I think, will be nice here. So we're going to, in this jar, which we're going to eventually use our immersion blender in, add about half a teaspoon of water. We're going to add our half a teaspoon of lemon juice, a pinch of salt, and then we're going to slowly stream in this butter once we get it melted. All right, so in the base of this jar here, we have our 2 egg yolks, a touch of mustard, like a teaspoon of lemon juice, and we're going to start combining these. A little challenging to do with just one hand here, but as we combine this, we're going to slowly also incorporate our melted butter. And as you can see, it's starting to thicken up and emulsify. We'll go ahead and continue adding in our melted butter. Okay, and you can see here it's a touch thick, so we're gonna go ahead and add a tiny bit of water to thin it out. So I'll go ahead and incorporate that now. And then let's keep processing and see how we did. Okay, as you can see here, I'll show you with a spoon, but we have some nice ribbons. I think this emulsified quite well. go ahead and show you what this looks like. Looks perfectly creamy. Let's give it a try. I think I might have overcooked the butter a little bit and turned it into brown butter, which I'm not sure I've ever had in a hollandaise. Typically you want to use like a clarified butter, which is completely the opposite, but I don't know. It turned out pretty great. So we'll add some salt and pepper just to taste. Incorporate this. And once you make hollandaise, you can't really cool it down and heat it back up. So if you need to keep this warm, while you're getting the rest of the things ready, you could put like a cover on it, keep it in an extremely low temperature oven maybe, and we'll get ready to plate this all up. All right, the final step, let's go ahead and get this plated. So we'll take maybe 2 of our asparagus, line them up. Maybe we can add a 3rd one as well. And then simply we're going to cover it with some of our hollandaise sauce. And really simple dish. It's pretty heavy, but it's definitely a food you can have once in a while, special occasions. So go ahead and get in here. It's really delicious. The creaminess from the sauce with a bit of the lemon, the mustard, the slight crunch from the asparagus. Definitely understand why this is one of the cultier vegetables. Is it worth the price? Maybe not in a restaurant, but to do it at home, I think there's something there. Enjoy.